All right. Welcome back, guys. Got a new link here. All right. So one of my most important and critical factors of marketing yourself as a photographer is to make sure that your brand is being seen by as many people as possible. Now, one way that a lot of high-end photographers, especially commercial photographers and fashion photographers, do this is by getting represented by an agent. Now, getting represented by an agent is definitely, I would say, at the kind of the highest pinnacle of success as a photographer. It's something that, only about 1/100,000th of 1% of photographers are represented by an agent worldwide. So a lot of photographers, that's a very sought after thing to do. Now, getting an agent is a challenge. Getting an agent can be a major hurdle in your career, but once you achieve it, it definitely can catapult you to another level of success. Now, we just so happen to have an incredible, illustrious panelist on this masterclass in advanced marketing for photographers, and we're going to be talking about obtaining an agent and what an agent can do as far as how they incorporate marketing to the audience, the decision makers, giving you some guidance on all aspects of that. We have this amazing photographic super agent, George Perez at JP Reps. I'm super excited. So George, if you could also message us in the chat with your website so that everybody can take a look and see what your brand is and all about. I'm also going to be showcasing it on the screen, but George, if you could put your website in the chat, that would be absolutely fantastic. This is the great JP Reps. George is an incredible guy. He's an amazing photographic agent, and I've not only does he represent some of the biggest celebrity fashion photographers in the world, but George also has represented me. So I've had the opportunity to work with George with him as my agent, and that was fabulous. He's an amazing guy, and I'm really grateful to have him on so you guys can all meet him personally. This is kind of a big deal because a lot of us photographers all want the same thing. They all want to be represented. So it's really cool to have somebody as high profile as George jump on and be one of our amazing panelists. So George, I just invited you to jump on and take over on the panel here. So go ahead and join us on. But George, he focuses a lot in the fashion space and celebrity space. So his photographers that he represents generally are shooting, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar. They're shooting for big brands, but it's generally a lot of celebrity stuff. And, and he's based in West Hollywood, California, and has all these incredible covers of that he's been able to his photographers have been able to shoot, and a lot of success. So welcome, George. Good to see you. Amazing to have you on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then what you do as an agent, and maybe talk a little bit about when a photographer wants to be represented by an agent, what you look for when taking on a photographer, in regards to how you could market that photographer to an audience of creatives.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Excellent.
Awesome, man. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You sound great.
I want to acknowledge you for your techiness. You're like, you have me in rooms, going in different rooms, finally accepted in this room. And yeah, it's great. It's great to be with you and great to be with you guys watching. I'm originally from Caracas, Venezuela, and I've lived now in Los Angeles for the past 19 years. And I've been a photo agent for about 13 years. No, yes, 13 years. And I've had my own agency for about 10. So it continues to be a really great career. Obviously we all have to keep pivoting with technology and the demands of the marketplace. Basically, the way that I work with artists, it's kind of a it's a team, right? It's like good cop, bad cop. But first, to let you know a little bit of how I get an artist is that I usually at this point, just because I've been doing it for a while, I get solicited a lot on email, right? So the ones that really catch my eyes are the photographers that are not only obviously have a great body of work, whether it is like a big fashion brand under their belt or like a great celebrity subject that they've shot. That to me says that they're seasoned. And as an agent, you always want to, you know, we're not in the business of starting somebody from the ground up. We want to already get an artist that already has some good stuff under their belt, so that we can market that stuff. So if you're just starting out, it's not the best idea to go and get an agent. I think that you should definitely get some really great work under your belt, and then that's how you get an agent, in my opinion. Everything that I say today, it's in my opinion. Um, so when I get solicited by a photographer, and it's usually, you know, somebody that catches my eye, it'll be like one or two or three great pictures, whether it's a big magazine cover or it's a big brand like they shot Toyota or Rolex, or just something that looks really great, well produced. That'll catch my eye. Also, you know, be mindful of when, you know, when you're writing, just keep it short and simple, like one short paragraph to the point. Don't tell me about how you've been shooting for 20 years and your wife left you and your dog is missing. Like, I'm not interested. Just hit me with the bullet points that'll catch my attention. And then, yeah, and then the work will speak for itself. You know, I I like I like artists that actually want to make an attempt to meet me, even though it doesn't really happen often. But you know, if you're in town, I live in LA. If you're in town and you say, "Hey, can I take you out for coffee? Can I?" And obviously, you know, the other things have to check, right? Your body of work has to look great, and then you're mindful and keep things to a short paragraph. Then that'll definitely bring down my defenses, and it'll give me the incentive to meet. I had an interesting conversation actually about 2 months ago. This one artist reached out, and he said that I met with him years ago, and I told him everything that was wrong with his book, but that gave him like the encouragement to keep doing it and get better. And he actually called me to negotiate a deal for him. And hey, there's not, I mean, if you really want to know what's the best way to get an agent, call them and say, "Hey, I have money for you and I would love for you to negotiate this deal for me. And if it goes well, then maybe we can start working together." So anyway, that's what I did with this one artist. I negotiated a big advertising deal for Trojan, no less. Never done a condom brand before, but now I have. And we're in the process of getting him a substantial amount of money for usage. And then let's see how things go after that. We left it open, but definitely it was a great synergetic connection between me and that one photographer. And you know, I took a lot of pride in hearing that what I had told him, even though it was maybe a little bit rough, but it was very constructive. It really made a difference in his art. So that was really, really great. So yeah, that's a little bit about how I start working with artists. You know, there are some artists that I don't take on as an exclusive, that I just say, "Hey, you're a great food photographer, or you shoot great lifestyle. Why don't I keep you in my back pocket? And if I see someone that's great, if I get a client that's looking for your kind of work, I'll let you know." That happened to me like 2 weeks ago. I had a job in Miami, and actually, Kevin, it was from one of your students, this girl, Gala. I had her on my, you know, she had reached out, and I saw that she was from Miami, and she ended up doing this job for me. So your workshops definitely work.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah,
What's the first and last name?
it's Gala Ricotta.
Ah, yeah, nice. Okay, so
Yeah,
so she was so this is a connection between the photography workshop series
yeah,
and being able to land an actual, you know, project, a campaign
yeah.
with an agent. That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Gala Ricote, Ricote. She happens to be Venezuelan, and we had this amazing connection. And she did a series of portraits for CEOs in Miami about 3 weeks ago for a big conference that's called Latitude. So that really worked really well. So thank you for that.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's great to hear. I mean, this is the great thing about, our network is that we're connected to all these amazing agents, and they come on and come to these epic workshops that we direct, and gives us opportunities where, you actually could, have an agent represent you on something, which is pretty fantastic. So I know, George, you generally do a lot of stuff, not just in advertising campaigns, but also with celebrities and stuff. At this point, is it, are you really doing more of the advertising, more of the celebrity, more of the fashion editorials, or kind of a mix of everything?
You know what? I try to stay away from fashion editorials. Just at this point, there's no money in that. So, but I do think photographers should definitely do as much editorial as they can, because that's the only way that it's almost like you're advertising, so it never hurts to do editorial. Obviously you want to be mindful of you are going to pretty much be spending your own money, so if you do editorials, make sure that it's for, as a reputable magazine, as reputable as it can get. It's like you got to find what the value in it, right? If it's not too much of a reputable magazine, but the subject is good, great. If the client already has the location paid for, or the studio, and you just literally have to go in with your team and shoot it, then that might be worth your while. I would just stay away from things that are just, you don't know the magazine, you have to pay for everything, the model is not it's not a great model. If you don't get any of those things happening, then I don't know, it sounds kind of a dud. So I'm staying away from that, but I do a lot of fashion advertising. I just did a huge, I'm kind of taking over the production for Original Penguin and Perry Ellis. So we just did their new fragrance ad a few weeks ago. And now we're going to be doing, their more of their celebrity stuff with Paul Rudd for next year. And that's a mix of like e-com stuff and fragrance and big, medium-sized ad jobs. So between celebrities that do brands and fashion houses, that's pretty much the big bulk of my work.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit about that process. So you're negotiating the contracts. So the photographers, they're working with ad agencies, they're working with big brands, and then essentially you're negotiating like the usage, the creative fees, coordinating this with the decision makers. Who are you usually dealing with? And tell us a little bit about that negotiation process.
Yeah, for a brand like Perry Ellis, let's say, so you deal with a VP of marketing, right? And then the VP of marketing is the head person, and then the ones, the coordinators and the art directors are the ones below. Usually anything money related is with the VP of marketing, and anything creative is with the art director, but nowadays I feel like everybody's doing a little bit of everybody's jobs, so it's a mix. Usually a great way to finding these people is, I don't know if you guys have the program Agency Access, but in Agency Access, you can go to different brands and you could actually find who's the VP of marketing, who's the creative director, art buyers. I always try to look for, if it shows art in ad agencies, look for art buyers or creative buyers. Those are the two positions that are usually looking for the photographers. When you go into the whole creative director, it's like not really. They're not. They get more into it. Once the art buyer finds the photographers, then the creative directors get involved. But they don't get involved in the seeking of the photographer. If you're going for ad agencies, right? If you're going for specific brands like a Perry Ellis, let's say, they'll have an in-house VP of marketing, and then that's who you should reach out to. Anybody that's in the marketing department.
Okay. Excellent. And then as far as, do you have any guidance? Because I mean, this whole focus on marketing, I'd love to know what you do for your marketing, George, as far as how do you market your photographers? Do you do email strategy? Is it through email broadcasts? Do you social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta? Like what do you do to market to these decision makers?
Well, I do Google ads for my computer. For my website, so I do SEO, which It's actually not super simple. I mean, it's simple if you're an ad space seller, which is what I have, right? I have an ad person, which you can Google and find someone, and then they got kind of guide me into how many words to buy and advertise on Google, right? So it's always important when you get a job, always find out how they heard about you, right? Because it's exciting to see, like, was it the SEO that worked? Was it the newsletter? I do um, I do newsletters with Campaign Monitor. Obviously, there's other ones. There's Mailchimp and whatnot. And what I do is like I just keep myself in the know of what my artists are doing, or if they have something new that comes out, they'll send it my way. And then I have my mailing list that I've created throughout the years. That obviously we can all update it better and better, because especially since the pandemic, I feel like everyone like left the industry or new people came in. So it's good to always update your newsletter contacts, right? So I do newsletters. I do Google AdWords. I also do Instagram. Obviously, I have the JP Reps handle, so I'm always trying to post, and then I combine it with my personal one, and kind of cross market those. Right, I'll tag my personal one, and then my personal one will tag the work one. So that's another way that I keep kind of I keep myself in the eye of the buyers, right, of the brands and whatnot. And then the other thing that I do, and I'm kind of seasonal, right? I'll start heavy on one, and then I'll slow down on one, and then I'll pick up another one. You just got to keep moving, Don't ever slow down on your marketing, because your marketing is your bloodline, right? It's like you have a job today, but you're gonna need one tomorrow. Don't drive yourself crazy either, but just kind of always kind of be doing something that takes your business forward, right? Literally this whole month, I just got back to LA. I was in Miami for 3 weeks, and then I was in New York for 1 week. So when I was in Miami, I hit up all my advertising agency contacts and brands, and I told them I was in Miami. It's always, in my experience, it's more effective when when you reach out to brands and you say, like, there's an urgency factor, right? Like, you're in town for a week, you're visiting for a couple of days. Like, that always seems to be more successful when there's a sense of urgency. When you reach out to people to meet in person, it's like, use that, whether it comes to marketing VPs or agents or ad agencies. Always create, even if it's a fictional sense of urgency, create some sort of sense of urgency. When I was in New York, I did the same thing. I reached out to clients I hadn't talked to in a while, and I said, hey, I'm in town for a few days. Can I meet you? I had a few meetings, and kept them short, to the point. I mean, these people are just so, especially ad agency people, are just so bombarded with people that want to meet with them. So when you do get that really great opportunity to meet, just keep it short. I would even make it more of a social thing. Connect with the person on a one-on-one, instead of immediately you sit them down and you start showing them pictures. You might actually not get to the pictures, or show a couple of things, but more so focus on that human interaction when you actually have a physical meeting, because that's what they're going to really remember. Like, just don't sit them and start like bombarding them with images to watch. Try to connect on a human level more, and then follow up with your pictures, so they have some like really meaty substance connection with you, more so than they remember that you just threw in like this huge book that you expected them to see.
Absolutely. So can you expand a little bit on the Google ad aspect? Like, what type of Google ads, or do you have an example, or can you share with us, like, what do you do exactly, and how effective those are?
No, I mean, what I mean by Google ads, they're words. So if you go on your Google panel, you can basically buy, like, if people, for example, I have it right now. Like, if you look for celebrity photographer in Los Angeles, I pop up pretty high, you know. Another thing that you want to do that's smart, and we could all do better at this, like on your Google, for example, like, I have like 30 reviews. Like, you want people to review your page and leave 5 stars on, because the more reviews that you have, the more you're findable when they put like mine. I set it up under photography, celebrity agency, fashion, Los Angeles. So there's some keywords that you have, and like I said, I have my Google girl, so she's the one that does it. I don't get involved in the nitty gritty, but definitely buying Google ad space and setting yourself up with that, it's a great idea. Google is your friend. I mean, just think about how much when you want to find out information, don't you just go on Google?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so
So
it's the
if you're
same
not,
for Google Ads then, that to make sure that when somebody Googles celebrity fashion photographer, they come to Los Angeles, they come to George Perez Reps,
yeah, exactly.
as opposed to click on somebody else.
Exactly. You just want to you want to pop up the highest on the SEO, so then you're easily findable.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, tell me then, as far as when you're sending out the emails, somebody asked earlier about how many emails do you send per week to the same person, and then what does that look like? Is it an email broadcast? Is it personalized emails? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I usually try to hit up like at least 10 people a day, right? Like just like that's like my minimum effort. And if I feel really
These are personal reach outs, though, right?
personal reach outs, yeah, personal reach outs, not an email blast, like a personal reach out. I do use a template. I'm really short and funny. I actually do stand-up comedy for fun. So I put in like a clip of my like I promise you I'll make you laugh, and then I have a little clip. I get this is just me being inventive. I always put myself in the shoes of like whoever's getting my email, like how am I gonna capture their attention?
Mm-hmm.
That's my strategy. I don't recommend you doing stand up or sending clips of doing stand-up, but just like what is it that's going to differentiate me from the thousands of people that are reaching out? Does that make sense?
Definitely.
And obviously a lot of these are buyers. A lot of them now I know personally because I've been stalking them for years. So I know this woman, Jolette Susser. She's obsessed with pit bulls, so I'm always sending her dogs. And then and she's always like, "Oh my God, I'm in this crazy photo shoot and I'm miserable." And I'm like, "That's because you're not working with me." And then I'm like, "Well, but how's your dog?" You just make it personable. Make we're in the business of people. We're in the business of people that want to hire people they get along with and that are probably stressed out and they have a boss that's like slashing their budget. So you want to be that secret sauce that makes their life better. So I like I said, I going back to your questions, I'll send like about 10 emails a day. I let a day go by, and then the following day I follow up with a call. And that's if you can find a number, right? A lot of times, like now, and even at Nats in agency access, they'll have the main number for the office, but they don't have the person's specific number. The phone situation is getting a little trickier, right? But I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just, in my experience, there's more like hurdles now, and because I just think everything is just so much more email centric, or people are on Teams, or you know what I mean. So I think that you have to get a little inventive. A lot of times when I can't get the person on the phone for that follow up call, like, hey, I sent you an email. What I'll do is in the subject, I'll change it for forward, so it shows that you just want to optically catch their attention, and then I'll put just left you a message. Even if I didn't leave a message, I'll say just left you a message, just so the person, you grab their attention, like, oh, what do you mean? And then that follow up email is super short. It's like, hey, don't mean to bug you. Just wanted to check if you have some, even 5 minutes next week, it would be amazing. And then always put in your website in the work, right? So just in case they can't meet with you at all, or they don't write you back, and obviously after that you can't be like stalking the person, so you got to let it go. But you can but make sure that you leave them the work, so they know. You never know, like that girl Gala, she was one of those emails that I never wrote back to, but I remember she was in Miami, so I put her on my Miami file, and it worked out.
That's awesome. And what do you feel like is the most effective, like for you and your brand? Like what's been the most effective as far as actually booking projects and landing big campaigns?
After a while, I mean, I've been doing this for a while, right? So it's word of mouth. I mean, people know what I do. they've known for a while. So it's like you do a good job. When you do a good job, people remember, and then they move to other companies or they have a friend that needs something, and yeah, but so
Yeah,
then
but the thing is, though, George, is like if you're
yeah.
not emailing them and calling them and texting them and keeping them in touch, they're probably not going to just randomly reach out to you constantly, right? So you probably have to be front of mind, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Google has worked really well for me. I've gotten some big jobs that people are like, "Hey, how did they find you?" Oh, I Googled, I needed a celebrity photographer, so I Googled celebrity photographers and you popped up. So I'm like, "Great." So that's been really effective for me. So like I said, do your due diligence on Google big time, and see how you can like in an organic way get to a level where you're being sought after, where people are calling you, right? So again, I have like 30 something reviews on my website, but I definitely can use more, because the more that you have, the more that the Google, that SEO will pick you up.
Yeah.
So between that and the personal reach outs and just always be in communication. But listen, when you're a photographer, your marketing efforts are I want to say mine are more singular, but yours, you have a team, right? You have the hair, the makeup, the styling. Like, always be in touch with those guys and see what they're up to, because they can definitely put you up for stuff, because they get reach out. I mean, I've had so many jobs, and my photographer's like, "Oh, my stylist pulled me in to do this advertising job," and so sometimes, like, the people, be in communication with your team and find out what they're up to, because they could also be part of your marketing team.
Definitely. By the way, George, I think I have a good idea. I think that everybody on here right now should leave reviews for each other, 5-star reviews on your Google pages, and I
Yep.
think that would really benefit you. And also they should leave one for George as well. So that way, everybody starts adding 5-star reviews about how great it is to work with you. And if you guys
Yeah.
put it all in the chat, guys, and I also would be happy to write a 5-star review for all of you as well. That way, if we're all writing reviews, it really adds value. And then, like what George is saying, the more reviews you have, usually you pop up a little bit higher in Google.
Yeah, and you know what I actually do also, because when friends are great, they're great. That sounds so weird, but like a lot of times when I'm like around friends that I'm like intimate with, I'm like, "Give me your phone." Like, I'll just literally grab their phone from their hand and I'm like, "Go to your Google," and then I'll put it in my website. They're like, "What are you doing?" Like, "Don't worry about it." And like, literally, I just go into my website from their phone. I'm like, George has the best photographers. I love working with him and his team. They're a great 5-star, and then I give them back their phone, and then they're like, "Okay, so you know." It works. And I've done it. I mean, you're around people all the time. It takes 2 seconds. Obviously, you're not gonna do it with a newer friend, but like your partner, your close friends, it's like try to make it into a habit of grabbing people's on phones and because if you leave it up to your friends, like, "Hey, can you write me a review?" Just be effective.
Smart. It's smart. I love it. I love it. Taking it into his own hands. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
literally.
yeah, George, I know that, in my experience, when you're working with me and, representing me, we would go in and meet with ad agencies in person. And this is, of course, pre-COVID, but we'd meet with ad agencies in person. We'd do portfolio reviews. We'd, bring in some like wine and cheese, and, you'd go to 72 and Sunny or Shy a Day or whatever. And we'd meet with the art buyers and creative directors. Everything's changed, since COVID happened, and a lot of people aren't in the office and people are working from home. Do you still do reviews in person at agencies, or is that, or completely none at this point?
I gotta admit, I haven't for a while. I think they still do them. I'm still involved with Le Book. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Le Book. They do like the trade show called Connections, and actually I was working with them trying to open Dubai, because I was in Dubai in January and I had some really good meetings, and we tried through this contact of mine, but it didn't happen. But they still managed to open that door, so they're doing it. I don't do the Connections event. I haven't done it in a while. That's like the big showcase event where like photo agencies have like a booth. But what I do is that I still manage to have a good relationship with them. So I'll go to the cocktail hour, so find out where your local Le Book, look up Le Book and see when Le Book is coming into your town, because I know that there is an hour where when you do the cocktail, where like photographers can come in. And that's always a good strategy to actually meet the art buyers in person because they're all there. So LA had one a couple months ago, and I went. I used to do that trade show a lot. It's interesting. It does work. You know, it was just it's an investment. It's about, I think, well, when I used to do it, it was about $5,000. I don't know exactly how much it is, right? I think, actually, I do know. I think it's about 7,500 now. Is it close to 8,000? So I mean, it is an invest. It is an investment, but it's not an investment that a photographer would do. It's the agency. A lot of the agencies, the photo agencies. I used to I used to charge back the photographers when I used to do it, but then I did some that I didn't. So it's both cases, you know. I think what Kevin, I think, remember Kevin when we did one?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we did it
Yeah,
together
yeah.
at the the book. It was awesome.
Yeah, I know, it was really great. And that one, I didn't charge you guys for it, but it was great. I did New York, and I did LA, and yeah, no, it's amazing. And a lot, you know, you reap these rewards, like sometimes not right away, but I think like 2 or 3 years after, I ended up getting like this campaign in Switzerland for like this breast cancer medication. That it was a great job. It was a great job.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So, so you basically what you're saying is like you as an agent, you'd pay LeBook to have a booth, and then you put on the booth, you present all your photographers that you represent, and
Yeah.
then all these the people that come to this are the big decision makers, or art producers, creative
Exactly.
directors, you know, editors at magazines, and they come in and they meet you, and then they meet your photographers. And what you mentioned is a cocktail hour. So they,
Yeah, the cocktail hours. The photographers are not there during the day, but they come in towards the night, you know. But it's so funny. It's like literally, it's like, and you remember, Kevin, it's like Hunger Games, right? So if you have like the black lanyard, sorry, then you're an art buyer and everybody wants to talk to you. And if you're an agent, you have the red one, or a photographer, you have the yellow one, and literally you're like the plague. But if you if you have the black one, that means you're like the most popular girl in school, and everybody's like doting on you, and then they're trying to get away. So I don't know. It's kind of trippy, but you know, it is. It's almost like a bit of a high school reunion after you've been doing this for a while, and you see people you hadn't seen, and now they're working somewhere else. So, but no, listen, LeBook came back after the pandemic. I just think the main issue is that a lot of people are not working from home now. I mean, are working from home, so they're not in the office as much, but they're still there. You know, I just met with Sam Giffoni, who's the head art buyer for Publicis in New York City, and you know, we got to meet her. She's like, "Hey, I'm only in the office Monday and Wednesdays." I'm like, "Let's do Wednesday across the street," and it worked. You know, it was just it's a little more hurdly, but you can still get to it.
Totally, totally. Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it used to be back in the day, you know, you'd go and you know, go to New York, you'd meet with all these different ad agencies, you go and you meet in person, you show your book. But these days, they're just not in the office, a lot of them. And a lot of everyone's working from home. What I love to do is meet with people on Zoom. So, you know, if you're emailing them and you're calling them and building a stronger relationship by jumping on a Zoom call with that art buyer or creative director, as opposed to just over the phone, I think that has value. But you know, the more personal it becomes, the better. Now, George,
Yeah.
when it comes to I would say follow up. I mean, I think that is where a lot of agents have a big advantage. A lot of photographers struggle with follow up. But when it comes to, you know, you have all these relationships, you have this Rolodex of all these amazing art buyers, creative directors, decision makers, and stuff. What do you do as like follow up if there is an opportunity? So you do all this great marketing. Maybe you've even worked with them before, and then say an opportunity comes about. What do you do to follow up with them? Can you talk about that process?
Okay, so be a little bit more specific.
Yeah.
When
So
you
say you've been marketing to them, and you're
uh,
sending emails out, and maybe you hit up some of your friends at an agency that you've worked with before or something. You know, you're talking about the Trojan campaign or something, and you know, you already shot it, but you're going up for the next one, or maybe you haven't shot it yet, but they've got an opportunity. They say, hey, yeah, we've got an opportunity. What do you do next? What's the follow-up look like to actually clinch that deal?
I mean, listen, when you work with anybody that you work to, you put them on your database, and then they enter the cycle of you sending newsletters and showing them work. So you just always figure out a way to stay in that communication by showing them what you're up to, what your client. I mean, in this case, as a photographer, you're showing what you're up to every now and then without being too aggressive. That's if that's what you meant, how to stay in touch, then yeah, that's what you do. They enter your contact list, and then then little by little,
like, you're following up. So you have an opportunity, and they're like, okay, we have a Trojan campaign. What do you do next?
Then you just find out, what are you looking for? What aesthetically, what are you guys looking for? And then they'll tell you, oh, we're looking for somebody that shoots animals, somebody that has great lifestyle, like outdoor. And then you literally just kind of you want to get as much as information as possible, so then you send them the art that makes sense. And then in some special occasions, if you're really passionate, like let's say you have a great relationship with an art buyer, or you feel good about it, and they're like, no, we're doing a campaign with kids and we need to see kids, right? Like maybe venture out and do a spec shoot, like shoot some kids, be smart about your money, make it affordable, like borrow your friends' kids or whatever it is, right? And show them what you can do. And we've done that before. Like I had an amazing client that was like the head of Coca-Cola branding, and we did a couple of shoots with them, and then they're like, oh, we want to do something more that looks like all Americana, Norman Rockwell, right? So then I had one of my guys shoot a whole like spec shoot that had that Norman Rockwell like 50s feel, and yeah, so it's if you can make it work for yourself and think outside of the box and create something for that job. If you don't have it, go ahead and do it.
Definitely. Yeah. I like that idea, go out and just make it happen. That's fantastic. Because I think a lot of us photographers, it's a follow-up game, and the actual, the deal side is also kind of a whole nother beast when it comes to negotiating. You mentioned like asking about the creative specs. What about some of the other specs? Like, do you ask them what the usage is for? Do you just assume a certain creative fee? How do you discuss that?
Well, it's especially nowadays, it's such like wild west. You don't know how much money. It's like money's all over the place when it comes to these jobs, right? So I personally always ask, what's the budget? You want them to give you the money, and then then it's like poker. Then they'll say like, well, how much do you cost? And I'm like, then you kind of bring it back to like, well, we have all different types of clients. What kind of usage are you using? And then they'll be like, oh, we want like unlimited forever and ever, plus like your kids and grandkids existent forever and ever, right? So now you're like, great. So you don't have any money. No. So now it's like, okay, you want to use it? No, for, let's say it's like a substantial media buy, like they want 2 years full rights. All right. So now it's like, you just always want to be flexible, but if they're cornering you, or like you're the one that has to say what you're worth, then I would be like, normally for a job like this, it's $20,000 plus production. But let me know what you're thinking. It's just leave room for that, because I don't know. I just hate when like you'll say a number and they're like, oh, you're too expensive, goodbye. And then, but then you never know. Maybe they all also had an agenda of putting somebody else, but as a courtesy, they had to like reach out. So, but then again, you'll never know. So just be flexible. Try to get a number from them first, and then try to raise it and negotiate as much as you can without obviously losing the job. So if they come back to you and say, oh, we have 10,000, you're like, you think we can make it work for 15, and see what else you can include, and then I'll throw in like 5 retouched images or whatever it is, right? And then start negotiating like that. And you never know, you They might come back and say, yeah, not a problem. Or it's like, no, I absolutely don't have any more money. I'm living on the streets. And then you're like, fine. But you gotta feel it out. That's why it's a good idea to just, so let's say, for example, if you get an email request for a job, oh, by the way, always do this. The number of the person will be there. And at that point, they reached out, right? Call them up. Let them hear your voice immediately. Don't follow up with an email. I mean, follow up with an email if you don't get an answer. But I usually call them up, and it's their cell phone number. So, and if they don't pick up, send them a text and be like, "Hey, it's George. I just got that email from you. Just wondering if you had a few minutes to talk." 9 out of 10, they'll call you back. And now it's like, now you have a phone relationship. It's like, oh my God, thank you so much for reaching out. What are you looking for? And then they'll tell you. And then remember, always ask at the end, how did you find me? Always a great idea, so but yeah, try to, if the best case scenario, if they reached out to you about a job, then you definitely, they're going to enter a phone relationship with you. No problem.
Definitely. And the phone relationship's huge. That's really, it needs to be personal. It needs to be super personal. Otherwise you're just another name out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It changes the playing field for sure. And then once you start that phone relationship, and you haven't heard from them in a bit, follow up, because maybe it's between you and somebody else. And if they see that you're staying in communication and taking the time, that extra mile might go a long way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Excellent. So, George, I mean, this is all incredible and amazing advice. I love this coming from, a high profile photographic agent as yourself. Now, things have shifted a lot, and, inflation's going up. Production costs have drastically increased in the last couple of years. I notice it every time I do a production, like everybody wants way more money, stylists, locations, especially in LA and New York. Have you been able to, relay that to the client and get them to pay more? Because I know for me, that's always been a challenge in the last couple of years, is production costs have skyrocketed, and making sure the clients are aware.
Yeah, listen, they know. So you just have to hold your ground, and like, it's a dance, right? Because you don't want to lose the job, but you also don't want to be like abused, and you know what? And seriously, it's like, if the client's coming in with like unrealistic expectations, like, you got to state your case. You got to be really polite, but you have to be really honest. It's like, this can't cost you, and again, be very, very, very polite, but be very assertive and be like, hey, and always try to negotiate. If they're asking you, $10,000 all in, plus including hair, makeup, styling, whatever, then just maybe even, I play dumb sometimes, like, okay, great, we can do 10,000 all in, including all equipment, separate hair and makeup. They're like, no, hair and makeup needs to be included. And then you're like, you know what? It's just, it's eating into all the production costs, and we just don't have it. Or it's a case by case basis, but you have to let them know. I'm not the one that be like, well, I don't know if you've seen the market out there, but it's crazy. I mean, I'm not one to really do that. I keep it personal, and I level with them and say, hey, this doesn't work for me. We need to do it this other way.
Got it. Now, can you talk to me also about being an agent, and you're representing these photographers? What is your commission? Can you talk a little bit about the commission structure? You do a commission based on the creative and the usage, but not production costs, or can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So what I've been doing more than ever, it used to be more 25% of the fee, right? 25% of the fee. But now I gotta be honest, like, with these jobs that are coming in, that'll be like, hey, I need somebody to shoot behind the scenes. Like Got Milk last week was like, we need a female photographer that's gonna cover the event. I have $5,000, including equipment, or just something like that, right? I'll call up the photographer and be like, hey, this is a job. It's 5,000, but I'm taking 25% off the whole top.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, then what? I'm gonna make $100. I mean, it's like, yeah. So and I think it's pretty fair. I think more than, I've been doing that now for a while, as like, the budgets just got smaller, I taken 25% of the whole cost of the
Okay.
job.
Got it. Okay. So including production costs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, this is something that a lot of photographers I know are like, oh, I don't know if I want them, an agent to take 25%. But I'm always like, well, do you want to take, 75% of, a big opportunity, maybe $100,000 job? Or do you want to, or are you worried about this 25% of nothing if you're not actually landing the job? Whereas a lot of them aren't going to land the job if they don't have an agent,
Yeah, exactly. 75% of 100,000, it's better than 25% of nothing.
Exactly.
No, and I there are some deals when I get like big deals. Sometimes I've even, I'll be honest, I've even told the photographer, I'm like, if we get this job, we're doing 50-50, and then they'll be like, and I'm like, you know what? This is what's gonna go down, and 9 out of 10 times, actually 10 out of 10 times, they're like, let's go for it, because obviously it's if it's like a Vegas, like, Vegas show campaign with multiple usage or casinos, you know what I mean? It just has to. It's a wild, wild west these days, so things just have to make sense.
Yeah, sure. That's now. Can you talk a little bit about the video side of things? Because I know that traditionally you've been a photographer's agent, but these days a lot of the clients are looking for photography plus video or video just exclusively. I know for me, I transition far more into producing video for clients rather than just doing photography. Like when I'm shooting for Burberry, I'm doing video for Burberry, shooting commercials for them, and that's specifically what they're looking for. But oftentimes when I'm asked to do jobs, I'm doing both video and photography. Can you talk a bit about the video side of it, and also maybe how that increases the budgets?
Yeah, I mean, a video nowadays it's just a must. It's not even like sometimes a client will have their own video person. I always try to do the video in-house. I have some photographers that shoot video at the same time. With all the new equipment, you can do it both on the same camera. A lot of times clients, they'll take the stills from the video because the video quality is so good. So it all depends. I even if I usually like a video BTS person will be about $2,000 to $3,000 a day, including everything, including like 5 or 6 different edits. Sometimes you can get away with more. Sometimes you can get away with less. I think as a photographer, if you need to have a video system in place, whether it's you doing it or you have a friend that is a videographer can do it, definitely have that backup, just have the system set up, because the client will want video regardless. Even if they're not mentioning it, bring it up as a service that you offer, because they're going to do it. They might have an in-house person, but make it sound like it's an a la carte thing, just like, hey, just to let you know, we do video as well. Entirely up to you, and send them some samples of what you do, because they might be like, you know what, you should do it, and that way it's more money in your pocket.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. And how has that affected the budgets? I mean, when it goes from photography to video, is it, how much more substantial are the budgets are you getting for your photographers?
I mean, like I said, clients at this point, they know that it's usually 3,000 to 5,000 tops, for video. I think any more than 5,000 for video, I think
you're talking about just adding. I'm talking about,
yeah.
I'm talking about making it a commercial, like a broadcast commercial.
I mean, that's a whole different beast.
I know. That's what I'm talking about, though, because I mean, that's a whole different monster. Are your photographers sticking mostly with photography and then doing video more on the behind the scenes stuff, or are they also doing like broadcast commercials and stuff like that?
No, we just did the Penguin fragrance ad that we did. Was like, my photographer was he was the DP, and he was also the photographer. Nice. So the fee was like 10 grand, and then the directing fee was 5,000. But damn, we had to fight for that thing. And then obviously plus like all the production video side, which was a whole different. But in the CGI guy, I mean, he really pulled all the. He had so many great relationships, so he was able to. It's gonna look like a huge broadcast commercial, but done super inexpensively. But you know, from the drones to everything, it was a big production. But yeah, so yeah, to answer your question, it was just 5,000 extra for his director fee as in addition to his photography.
Okay, cool. So George, now that I have you on, I also wanted to, we're doing some kind of like strategies for our photographers that are on live right now. And I have a wonderful photographer named Melissa Sheets, who's on, and she's a beauty photographer. And I wanted to get your advice on some marketing strategies for her, because we're kind of doing this for the photographers that have joined us live here. So I'm going to showcase her website, and I'd love to get your thoughts from Melissa's body of work. So this is Melissa's website. And Melissa, looks like she, primarily shoots beauty. She's got nails and lips, eyewear, and then editorials. So can you talk to me about, after seeing this content, what do you think, would be some strategies for marketing, who she should be reaching out to, and how she should be marketing this content?
Well, it's obviously great skin, great hair. I would be, if I were her, I would be going into agency access and finding out what agent, looking for agencies that do beauty, that do hair, and then find out who those creative art buyers are for beauty and hair, and then it's like, for example, if you're going down agency access, it'll just you don't see what brands specifically. I mean, you can see agency wise what brands the agency works with, but you don't see what the art buyer specifically works on, right? So you don't know if they're doing Aveda or they're doing like Kiehl's, or you have to do a little bit more research. But definitely, yeah, great beauty, great hair. That's where if I were her, the still life stuff, I don't know if she shot that or not, but it looks pretty good. So yeah, any brand. I mean, listen, I used to love grabbing a magazine and just kind of going through the ads and then see what ads like grabbed my attention and felt like, oh, I love this style and I can do it, and then literally just tear the sheet off the magazine, make a list of the brands that you like, and then find out what agency and what creative buyers handle it, and then reach out.
Excellent. And Melissa, if you want to tell us if you have any, I just wrote to you as well in the chat, but if you want to tell us, like, if you have any dream brands, what those would be, we'd love to hear it. Like, what you would love to shoot, which clients and stuff like that. Okay. So Melissa says Sephora, L'Oreal, and MAC. Okay. And George, have you worked with any of those brands personally?
L'Oreal, yes. And Sephora, I think almost, but no, but yeah. L'Oreal I've worked with, and not MAC.
Okay, cool. So, so tell us about, like, say, getting in touch with L'Oreal. Is that directly through L'Oreal, or is it through an agency?
No, the L'Oreal actually came when we did a project with Beyonce, and she was the brand ambassador, and I had this photography duo that worked with Beyonce a lot. So it came straight from talent. But once we were connected, it was out of Paris. L'Oreal is just, it's huge, right? So their big kind of mother hub is in France, but obviously there's a lot of ad agency stuff done here too. But yeah, so that was my experience with them.
Okay, cool. So shooting a Beyonce campaign with L'Oreal. I mean, Melissa, I'd love to see you doing that too. That'd be happy. Do you have any suggestions, then, George, for like a photographer that's going after something like that? Say Melissa wants to shoot for L'Oreal and shoot with Beyonce. How would she go about getting an in on that and working with a celebrity of that caliber?
Like I said, grab a magazine and what's L'Oreal up to these days? What do they shoot? How are they shooting? What's their style? And if it's something that really speaks to you, that you really love, then reach out and say, hey, I noticed your last ad, and my style is definitely comparable. I love what you did. I mean, just something, again, to the point, not too wordy, but that shows that you've been doing your homework, and say how you would love to take a crack at, that you would love to be considered for their projects. I mean, if you want to get really inventive, you should do like a mock or a spec shoot on L'Oreal, your vision of what they should look like, and give it a shot and send it out to them and see what they say. You know, why not? I mean, listen, you're a creative person. You go to town and whatever you can do. As far as like working with big celebrities, I mean, listen, it's like you got to crawl before you walk, right? So it's all about. First of all, the whole celebrity world thing, it's in LA or New York, right? If you want to get into the game and you haven't, then obviously you would. I don't advise anyone to. Well, actually, that's not true. The way that I've worked in the past with clients starting out, and sometimes it's paid out really well, you know. But you reach out to PR companies, you know, you can subscribe to whorepresents.com that have I'm a member of it. You can see who's like what agencies and what publicists reps like Beyonce, right? Or reps. So whoever's repping Beyonce, I'm telling you, they also have other clients that need pictures. So you can get their emails of these websites. You can get an email from actually I'll write it down here. And there's IMDb Pro. So this website, it's so funny, right? It's Who Represents, but when you read it fast, it says Whore Presents. um, so you can find out there who reps who, what, when, and reach out to them and be like, hey, if you have any celebrities that you need new pictures for, I would love to do a few shots for you. And dude, I remember this guy Stephen Buskin that I got him started out. He started shooting Margot Robbie way early in the game, and I think that photo shoot that he did on spec with her for free, he sold those images for so many things, and you know she looks the same as she did 13 years ago. So he's gotten a lot of money from those images.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. So basically, you can look up the actor, or the celebrity, and then if you have access, you can just look up and find out all the contact of her agent or manager and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my God! Look how funny! Look how they put the Who and then represents in a different color to make sure you were reading the right thing.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, so this is one way. Another one, of course, is looking up using IMDb Pro. I do love IMDb Pro. I think that's another really great use, especially if you're getting into the celebrity game, because it shows you, all the information, what kind of projects they've worked on, who their agent is, all that stuff too. So, I mean, I personally really like IMDb Pro, and I think that I do recommend that as well. So if you guys are
it's the same thing
going after that, in fact, I'll even showcase IMDb Pro as well. Yeah. So this is IMDb Pro, and if you want to see, you can actually take a look. This is just my profile, but you could also get information about the person and look them up and see what kind of projects they've done and everything like that. So definitely a really great way to go after, people that are that you want to get in touch with.
Oh my God, that's so great, Kevin. Look at
that. Awesome. So and you've been integrated into celebrities. And I think that's something that a lot of people want to be able to crack, is to be able to get into the whole celebrity world. So when it comes to the whole, photographing for celebrities, do you recommend like them sending to their publicist, to their agent, to their manager? Like, who should they contact? Is it?
Perfect. Great question. This is going to save you a lot of time that you will not be wasting. Just the publicists. Okay. The agents, they're just for money jobs for the celebrities. So don't even waste your time. Never reach out to an agent. If they don't have a publicist, then the manager. Mm-hmm. And you know what? But if they don't have a publicist or a manager, then the agent, right? Because sometimes, like, you know, these celebrities could be going through a transitional period where they fire the manager and they don't have a publicist. Because you got to remember, so a celebrity has 9 out of 10, they first start having the manager, which is the one that always oversees everything. And then as they start getting bigger, they get an agent, which is strictly bringing them paid gigs, right? And now once they get a publicist, that means that they are obviously they're working or they have money because a publicist needs to get paid a retainer. So once they get in the publicist game, don't even waste your time reaching out to the managers. Just always the publicist. The publicist is the one that's in charge of anything that has to do with them having good art out there. And trust me, publicists are always salivating over free photo shoots. So that's the best way to get in. And you know, and it's like I scratch your back, you scratch my back kind of thing. After a while, you know, they do hook you back up. You know, after I think Kevin, I pulled you in to do some spec work too, right? With like celebrities and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and you've got
I've
because they
always
always
thought it-
wanted for nothing, right? They always wanted to for nothing, but to have it in your book is huge because when you're shooting for celebrities, it like really adds a lot of like gravitas to who you are as a photographer.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So I mean, I love that. I mean, so just willing to work with them. What do you suggest they send to the publicist?
Just like beautiful portraits, clean. You know, the publicists they're not wanting to see your most edgy conceptual stuff. They just want someone in a studio light looking beautiful and clean, and that's what they want. They just want their client to look really pretty, so then they can get stories about them written up in other places.
Right. Okay. And you feel like, so if your photographers are trying to shoot for celebrities, how many publicists should they be reaching out to like on a weekly basis?
I mean, there's not that many. I mean, and there's really just about maybe 100 in total. So, and we're talking about in the whole industry of celebrity of celebrity. So I can't tell you it's like hit up 10 a day because you'll run out in like a week and a half. So so just but make sure that you get all of them. That you get all of them, and best way to get them is you offer them free shoots and just sit and wait.
Got it. Okay, cool. And then it sounds like to me that a lot of your big campaigns that you've got for your photographers over the years that came from the talent. So these are photographers that have you and the photographer built a relationship with the talent. So whether it's Beyonce or Leonardo DiCaprio or Johnny Depp or, whoever that is, or Kim Kardashian. And then the talent essentially has the brand that wants to work with them. And then they bring their photographer or their agent in, like you and the photographer you represent, into the project. It sounds like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the bigger the name, the more weight they'll have in choosing what photographer they can use. So then the brand will usually oblige of depending on the name. Like we used to do these big Brad Pitt shoots for a Japanese cell phone company, and I mean, with Brad Pitt, he could just. My dog Meester could do it, and like the brand has to say Meester with the iPhone.
I love that, George.
I'll be like, yo, this guy has an iPhone and he's at it, and the brand will, he's in this too. The brand will be like, look, he took a self-portrait of himself. He's great, and Brad Pitt's agent, and everyone will be like, yeah, Meester will do it. But obviously, if it's a fashion campaign, or if it's like, or beauty, that's where like you might get into a little. I remember the same agent. I think it was like Smart Water that was doing like Jennifer Aniston, and Jennifer has her makeup and hair that's her go-to. I mean, it's Jennifer Aniston, right? But the photographer. He was like Craig McDean, right? He's a huge like photographer. He goes, no, but so she's like, it's my hair, it's my makeup, and he's like, no, but it's my art. So I mean, these kind of cockfights only happen when like it's like that kind of star power, and Jennifer was not gonna go like bend down, and he wasn't gonna bend down. So finally, the agreement was she got to keep her hair, and he got to keep his makeup. So, I mean, that's like, I don't know, man. There's so many issues. There's so many real stories and real issues in the world. You look back at those things and you're like, it's so stupid. But it does become a political thing. For example, like you're Jennifer Aniston, right? You know how many favors you've asked for your hair and makeup and styling people to be like, hey, my God, I have a dinner tomorrow and I need this. So when those big money jobs come, you're gonna pull in your team as like that's how you get your equity. That's how you take care of your people. So if a brand is like demanding that you don't force on the one thing that the leverage that you have, you're gonna be a pissed off celebrity, and it's oh man, it's like that whole game. It's like who I really feel bad for is the publicist, man. The publicist is just constantly like begging for favors, 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 and at some point you're like, oh, fuck off, like all these favors. When at the end of the day, when your big celebrity name will use whoever, I don't know, it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
But it's a good problem to have. When you're having this problem, that means you've done a few right moves.
It's true. It's true. Now, Melissa, the Melissa Sheets, the photographer that we were just talking about, we were looking at her website. She just sent me actually this really cool PDF that she shares. So I wanted to share it with you.
Sure.
So this is a PDF that she sends to clients. I believe probably to creative directors, it's a nice little PDF that she sends. Looks like it's 5 pages. Do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, do you recommend something like this? And if so, George, do you recommend any adjustments to it?
Yeah, no, I can't control it, right? If you go to the first page. Yeah, I mean, great. It's just one strong shot. Who she is, her contact, next page. This is the one thing that it just kind of like I always make the joke it's like dating, right? Imagine you're like dating and you're like, hey, I've been in the field for over 20 years. That just kind of scares me. So it's like your seniority in shooting like that. I mean, listen, we're in a business where like I don't want to say there's ageism, but like you don't want to, when you say you've been doing anything, even me, man, now living in LA for 20 years, the minute you say that, immediately people are like, wow. I mean, two things. You're old. And like, I don't know. I don't want to tell you what to write, but it's like, I don't know. 20 years is kind of like, you don't need to say 20 years in order for them to get you. A lot of times they want newer blood, so you don't want to be disqualified because they're like, oh man, this person is too set on their ways. Forget it. It's like, I'm a passionate photographer, director with incredible work under my belt. Or like, oh, maybe you want to put in that. I mean, listen, if you've worked for 20 years of experience, you probably have some good brands that you worked with, right? So maybe instead of the 20 years, you want to say, I've worked with L'Oreal, MAC, Kiehl's, you know what I mean? Like maybe that's how you're going to talk about your experience more so than aging, how many times you've been behind the camera. Just a thought. Okay, great. Start to finish. That's the way you're not. Yeah, I don't mind anything else there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree with George. I hear this literally every day. I hear this from photographers. I'm always like reading their, I've been shooting for 50 years. And I'm like, wow, don't ever tell anyone anything.
Yeah, and it's also like if you've been shooting this long, then where are your repeat clients? Why are you reaching out to me? I'm just telling you
exactly. Like if you've been shooting for that many years, like, okay, so have you shot for Versace and, for Gucci and like what's going on? And if not, then what's going on? Why haven't you?
It's like,
so
what
George
is
add 100% right.
Add in like your physical report from this year so I can see how much longer you're living and so that I know what I'm working with. Yeah, so that's just my 2 cents. Go to the next picture so I can next page.
Yep, absolutely. Hold on a sec.
Nice. I like that. To the point. Shows, the kind of makeup that you've shot. Good. And then the next one. Great. I love that
Or
you.
actually, sorry, I think this is the one that's next, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
fashion. All right, great. You're showing me what you've done. You've done like lingerie. You're doing more like high concept stuff, studio stuff. Um, what I would add here more just to balance it out, maybe more location stuff, because this is I get that you do studio really well, but I would want to see more location. The only location I'm seeing is this girl like in this. From what I see here, she looks like she's in a parking lot. Maybe
And
make it
that
more.
looks like it's done in studio to me. That looks
Oh
like it's
yeah,
a studio, and then the parking
yeah,
lot's comped in. I don't know if it
exactly.
is or not, but that's to me, that's what it looks like.
That's fine. If listen, if you don't have it, you don't have it. But guess what? If you've been shooting for 20 years, you should have it. So there
Yeah.
you go. That's where you start seeing like, ooh. So
Yeah.
so maybe try to do some location stuff because that will make a difference. If they're looking for a location person, they see this, they might not think that you're the right one.
Yeah.
Go to
Yeah,
the
and
next.
let me throw some ideas in here too. I mean, I think we need to get a little bit of an edit here too, personally. So, I feel like, to me, like this image right here. I don't know if you can see in my pen here. This is a weaker image, the one on the top right corner. Whereas the one on the far left is a really strong image. So I feel like we have some of the content's strong, some of the content's weak. I think we need to do a much stronger edit. I probably personally would remove the lingerie shot because, if you are trying to market yourself to Victoria's Secret or something, this probably wouldn't be the promo. And it's certainly not a fashion shot. So I'd probably just remove that as well. And I agree with George. I think we really need to get some on location stuff. I think, at the upcoming elite masterclass on high fashion photography that we're going to be having in Los Angeles, which, by the way, George has been with me at, I think, probably 4 of our elite masterclasses in Los Angeles over the years, maybe even 5. In fact, I think we did the very first elite masterclass with the photography workshop series together back in 2015. So that was like 8 years ago. And we shot with Flaunt Magazine and a brand called Gents, and we did this unbelievable production. But I think, something like that for you could really benefit your brand, especially the on location stuff, Melissa. It really was, pretty mind blowing, and also being able to win some major photographic awards because, with the photography workshop series, we've won in the top 10 fashion photographer of the year award. We won 7 out of 10 of the top 10 fashion photographers in America award, just from images from the photography workshop series. And, and that would be something, instead of saying I've shot for 20 years, I'm an award-winning photographer that have shot for L'Oreal and MAC and, Kiehl's and all these brands. That would go a long way, I think. And then showing which awards they might be and showing the campaigns.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, this is what I would love to, to showcase, is to get content, at this level and be able to get, stuff that's totally over the top and on location stuff, which to me, this is a bit more iconic, to me, a bit more iconic than some of this, some of the content that you're currently showing that, for instance, this is not an iconic shot. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah. I think we can refine the brand a little bit and then make this a tighter one. I personally think it's too many pages for PDF too. I usually don't like to show them that much. You want them to be going through your website and meeting you on a Zoom call or in person. And I would show them less pages personally. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Less is more, always.
Less is more. Less is more. Yeah. And then on the last bout, I just want to pull this up too. This is, I think, the last page. This to me looks super dated. See, this is the problem. This gives you away right here. You said you've been shooting for 20 years. It looks like it. Because to me, this looks super dated. The style of it, the look of it, the photography, it just looks dated to me. It looks like it was from 20 years ago. So I would probably get rid of this altogether, personally. And if you are going to do still life stuff, this is not the content to show. Would you agree, George?
I will. You know what? Why don't you keep again? Less is more. Maybe just show a couple of, with um. I like the breaking of the left side one, like with the
Yeah.
army thing. I kind of like that. I think that's
Yeah,
kind of
that's
cool.
interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, and then maybe like a couple of the still life, but without the model, and just kind of. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, it's like you know what's in the market. But like again, a great reference is like grab your fashion magazine and see what
Hmm.
people are shooting, and
Exactly.
try to put whatever, because that's what the marketplace is looking for. Something that might be really dated now can come back fully next season.
That's true.
So that's why you have to just kind of be at the pulse of what people are doing and what magazines are publishing and what brands are publishing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because the first page to me doesn't look dated. It looks strong. Like it's
Yeah,
like I feel like it's a really strong lead in and then like a weak ending. So
yeah,
I would keep it. I would keep it strong all the way through because you want to be powerful. You want to be iconic. That's really what it comes down to.
that's great.
Um,
Sure.
yeah. All right, George. Are there any other concepts and ideas that you'd like to express to our photographers that might help them with their marketing, their social media presence, and publicity? If there's anything that you think that has really been beneficial to you and your brands and the photographers you represent, I'd love to hear any final advice.
Just stay in action. Don't become obsessive, but always, like, whether it's reaching out to clients or posting on your social media, or or talking to your team about projects to do. Stay consistent and looking into magazines and brands that you want to work with. It's like, use a combination, a cocktail of all these different efforts, and make it your own, and then you'll see which ones work. Do the Google thing, find out how you can buy Google AdWords. It's a wild west when it comes to marketing. There's a lot of different things you can do, so just kind of do something. Just don't stay idle, right? Just do something and believe that that what you're doing is gonna work, and it will. But just don't stay idle, and always go to bed at night knowing that you did something. That you put an effort on your marketing, and it's gonna work out. It's a compound effect.
It is a compound effect. I think that's something that's been, I think, a challenge for a lot of photographers is they want it instantaneously and they wonder like why they're putting in all this marketing effort, all these reach outs, and it's not like immediately working out and they get frustrated and then they kind of give up. Do you have any words of advice on that? Because I did this in this industry from my experience. It's a long game. It's a long sales cycle.
Yeah, listen, I've gotten jobs from like that Le Book thing. It was 4 years later that I met an art buyer, and then she stayed in my newsletter, and I sent her an ad, and she liked it, and she's like, "Do you have anybody in Switzerland?" I was like, "As a matter of fact, I do." And I googled a Swiss photographer, and I found them, and I was like, "You're gonna do this." So you just you put in the effort, and you stay in action, and mindset is everything, right? You can go into like the dark hole of like, oh, all the work I do doesn't pay out and this is hard. I mean, listen, that's my biggest thing now more than ever is like, you got to stay positive. You got to stay positive, and you can, because if it's doomsday out there and what do I even bother, and it's getting too hard, then you will prove yourself right. So your mindset needs to stay. I don't know if you meditate, I don't know what you do, but definitely engage in something that keeps your mindset positive, and do what you can and enjoy life. Life is too short to be like obsessing over things and suffering over, it's just like put in your effort and call it a day, and stay in gratitude. Practice gratitude. You know what I have? That's this. I have a gratitude right next to my bed. Every morning when I wake up, I write, even if it's like 3 sentences of what I'm grateful for. And you start getting your brain used to looking at what's right, and you start attracting more of what's right. We're basically just a big program. you know, and you'll see. And the more that you stay present to how good you have it, the more that your brain will look at good things, and in my experience, they come. So get in the habit of every morning write 5 things that you're grateful for, and right before you go to bed at night, 5 great things that you're grateful for, even if it's just your bed and you have food on your table, whatever it is. And trust me, it works.
Definitely, definitely. I'm all about the attitude of gratitude, and I know George and I have also gone to seminars to basically, learn more about that and develop ourselves, because George and I both believe very strongly in personal development. And that's why you guys are doing this right now. You're on this advanced masterclass for marketing. You're yourself as a photographer. You're growing. You're becoming a better photographic business because of that, and better person because of that. And George and I both believe strongly in that, and we invest heavily in our own personal growth. And you know what? Every dollar that I've invested in myself has the turnaround in that, the ROI has been thousandfold, and of everything I've invested into myself. And I am sure George probably feels the same way.
100%. Mindset.
Mindset. So the very last thing I wanted to do, while I still have you on here, George, is I have another photographer that I just wanted to showcase and get kind of a concept and strategy for him. His name is Prince. You might have even met him before at one of our Epic workshops, but this is Prince's work. And he shot this actually at our Las Vegas fashion photography workshop, which is pretty fantastic. We shot in a dry lake bed desert, and we shot with amazing horses and top models that had flown in from New York. Anyway, Prince has this wonderful fashion content. And I'd love for Prince, if you could also message us on the chat and let us know what would be your ideal clients and your ideal goal for your photography. And that'll help us kind of guide our way. And while you're doing that, Prince, I'd love for your advice, George, about what do you think Prince should do? What do you think because obviously it looks like he likes fashion photography. And I think that, he's got some really interesting content here, beautiful work. What are some, what's some suggestions and guidance for you for his marketing plan?
Grab a fashion magazine and start looking at the ads that you like, and start looking at the brands that you want to work with. Grab their names, go on Agency Access and see what ad agencies are repping those brands. And most likely they'll probably rep other brands that are similar, and start reaching out to your client and reach out to those art buyers and say, hey, I noticed your latest ad on Vogue. I do work that actually is in the same spectrum as what you guys are up to. This is me. I would love the opportunity to work with you. And that's it. And then obviously if you're local, see if you can grab a coffee with that person. But if not, just keep them posted, add them to your newsletter list, and stay in communication with those people. So first and foremost, go grab a fashion magazine and see who you want to work with.
Definitely. That's really good advice. And then once you know who you want to work with, what do you suggest he does for his marketing strategy to get in touch with those people?
I just said it. Go to Agency Access and find out who reps the brands, and then reach out to those clients.
Yeah, but be more specific as far as the reach out, because it's a systematic process that we're building. I mean, that seems very general, but as far as should he start like an email broadcast campaign and then do follow-ups and personalized emails? Should he set up chains of that? Should he be calling them? If so, how many calls per day? Just as far as like a very systematic marketing approach.
Just add them to your newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And set up a system where they, you send a newsletter every 3 weeks. Other than that, I don't do anything else. Okay.
So add him to the newsletter and get them going. And then do you suggest so you don't suggest he calls them?
If it's like, I saw that he put Prada, Versace, and Gucci. I mean, I don't know if you're going to get those people on the phone. You know what I mean? So if it's a smaller brand, I think yes. If it's a big brand like them, you can give it a call. Listen, the world's your oyster, man. Like, get creative. Do it.
Yeah. Okay. Because, just sending emails on a newsletter, generally doesn't always get you to where you need to be if you don't have the kind of Rolodex that George Perez does. So you've got the Rolodex, you know everybody knows you, and you've got an agency that you've had, operating for a long time. And then even before your agency, you were with another major agency before you with Opus Rep. So, since Prince is trying to break in and he's got, and he wants to shoot for these major brands, any additional words of advice for his marketing, I think, or publicity. And I could also see Prince shooting for celebrities and stuff too. Do you suggest maybe he also reach out? Because I could see some like really iconic celebrity fashion stories happening as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, if Prince, if you want to go the celebrity route, then get a program where you can find out who the publicists are, and if you're starting from scratch, then you offer hey, I would love to shoot some of your talent on spec. And start a relationship. It's a relationship-based business, so you got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? So you have kind of a few initiatives happening at the same time, right? You're reaching out to publicists to get in with celebrities, and then you're reaching out to ad agencies or marketing or the marketing department of brands to have your work being seen. And little by little, it starts to, both sides eventually they'll meet, and you'll land a job.
Definitely. Yeah. Just take some persistence. And Prince, your work is absolutely incredible. These are iconic images that are spectacular and totally over the top, beautiful, well art directed, incredible posing, beautiful lighting, everything comes together. So I'm super impressed. I mean, these will be award-winning images if you submit them to the, awards. And also I'd recommend submitting for as many publications as you can as well. But thank you so much, George, for coming on. You're such an incredible inspiration. And I think, for these photographers that get to be a part of the Marketing for Photographers workshop, this is such a perfect opportunity to have somebody with your gravitas, speak to them and give them guidance. So thank you so much, George.
No, thank you, Kevin. And thank you guys, and good luck, and stay in touch. You could always reach out to me. I'll put in my email. And like I said, listen, I worked with that girl, Gala. So as long as I know where you live and what you do, I can definitely, a lot of times I get clients asking me for specific things. And based on the work and the region, I might just have a job for you.
That's even better. That'd be incredible. So fantastic. Thank you so much, George. You have a good one.
You too, man. Take care.
Take care. All right. So I mean, incredible advice, incredible guidance from a world-class photographic agent. Now he's given some great guidance, but for him, he also has this amazing network that he's developed over time. And that is absolutely key. So for him, it is a lot easier, but it does take many, many years. Like he said, he's been in the industry for 20 years here in West Hollywood. He's got access to all these amazing people. He's personally friends with the Kim Kardashians, of the world, and all the big celebrities, hangs out with, everybody under the sun in Hollywood, because he's on shoots with them all the time, because his photographers, his stable of photographers are photographing with them. So it obviously adds value. So if we're new to that and we're trying to achieve those, I love his guidance on publicists, as well as, reaching out and finding who these decision makers are, using, all these techniques. But anyway, Prince, this work is incredible. I'm super, super proud of you, because this is, you've created this cornerstone of content that is going to take you to another level. But the key is, Prince, is the systematic approach of the email systems that George talked about. But then also, I want you to follow up with personal emails, phone calls, LinkedIn messages, Facebook messages, Instagram messages. I mean, if you have to, go to their house, knock on their door, whatever it takes. It's all about, connecting with them and them knowing who you are, because attention is everything. And building that gravitas and attention is like, oh my gosh, it doesn't get more important than that. So he even mentioned some of these big photographers like Craig McDean, where he's shooting with Jennifer Aniston. Well, Craig McDean is just as big in the photographic industry as Jennifer Aniston is as a celebrity. So for him, that's a whole nother thing. Like, you've got these high level, big time famous photographers working with big time famous celebrities, and it's a whole different ballgame because everybody knows who they are. And Craig McDean, he's a big name. So if you don't have that big name yet, well, let's get it. let's make sure that we can get to that big name, because the big names, they do get a lot of opportunities, but we can also get there too. We just need to have attention. We need to build that gravitas of who we are in that brand. And we do that, of course, by marketing ourselves. That, remember, as a photographer, many photographers are like, oh yeah, like I don't have enough money. I don't have enough, resources for this, that, and the other, whatever it is in your life, whether it's spending money on marketing or whether it's, and that's the most ironic one. Oh, I don't have the money to invest in my marketing, or I don't have the money to invest in developing my photographic portfolio the way Prince did to shoot the greatest images of his lifetime, or the way Stephen Paul did to shoot content that's completely over the top, that gave him an opportunity to photograph the greatest images of his lifetime that are going to like literally catapult him into, hundreds of thousands of dollars of earnings. And I don't have the money to do that. And I hear that, which is so ironic, because you know what? The truth is, and this is a famous saying by, Grant Cardone, who is an absolute genius. And if you guys probably have heard of him, he's literally an expert in marketing, social media, and sales. And he's like a major guru and celebrity now with all of this, and he's a multi-billionaire. But Grant Cardone always says, you don't have a money problem. You have an attention problem. And I want you to remember that statement. You don't have a money problem. You have an attention problem. You got to remember that it's not really about, if you don't have money, it's not like, for instance, if Prince is, wanting to shoot for those big campaigns, but isn't booking anything, and he doesn't have the money to sustain himself as a photographer per se, well, it's not really about money at all, because the reason he's not successful is not because he doesn't have money. The reason he's not successful is he doesn't have attention. The attention is everything, meaning you've got to put yourself out there. The photographers, almost all photographers I know, I'm talking like 98% of photographers have an attention problem. They don't have enough people knowing who they are. Yeah, there's a handful, the celebrity photographers that, represented by George Perez Reps and stuff, that have access to, shoot for Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie like they do every week for George. But everyone else of the world, we don't have that attention, right? So we need to come up with solutions to be able to garner that attention, pushing it on them, marketing it on them, emailing, calling, social media, creating this excitement, this energy, and for them to know who you are. And even if you are a big time photographer, it's very easy for those big time photographers to get overlooked and passed over, and people to move on and be like, oh yeah, well, they're a great photographer, but they already forgot about them because they're shooting with somebody who's young and fresh. And believe it or not, that does happen. Like George was talking about to Melissa, like, don't say how long you've been shooting. I don't either. I don't want to date myself at all. I don't want to say how long I've been shooting at all, because it will only hurt me. This is an industry, the photographic industry, where experience is a detriment rather than an advantage. And that's really hard for a lot of people to grasp. But you don't know how many times I get emails back from photographers from my marketing, for instance, that they say things like, oh, I've been shooting for 50 years. I don't need to learn this. And I just laughed to myself, because you know what? If you've been shooting for 50 years, and then I look at their website and it's just like really low end headshots and portraits and, mediocre photography. And they haven't won awards. They are not shooting for Gucci. They're not shooting for Vogue. They've never done anything substantial with their career, but they've been shooting for 50 years. Well, obviously they need to learn something, and it doesn't mean that they're over. They could actually completely rebrand themselves and do something special if they're willing to put in the work and be open-minded. But I encourage you to put in the work, be open-minded, be willing to grow, just like I am. I want to grow constantly. I want to develop constantly, and I want to be a better photographer. I want to be the best brand that I possibly can achieve, and I want you to do the same. It's absolutely key to your development and also your survival as a photographer in the industry, is to be able to learn and master this marketing stuff and be able to strategize to get yourself out there and achieve greatness. Build the email funnels, build the LinkedIn system, get on there with using a CRM to keep track of all this information, keeping track of every single phone call you made, at what time, who it was, whether they picked up, whether they didn't, what they said. keep track of the communication, the personal emails, the text messages, if you do get their personal contact information. And then most importantly, when you do get anyone that has any interest whatsoever in you or your photography, follow up with them, get in touch with them on a regular basis. Make sure that you keep following up until there is a real opportunity. And if there is a real opportunity, meaning a booking, then do everything you can to achieve that booking, whether it takes doing a proposal, achieving, a presentation that you can present, and then go through the bidding process. And that's what I do. I mean, I put together these 25-page proposals, that I'll prepare for my clients that have all the details of everything they need to understand about the campaign. And that's something that is really, really valuable, is to then put together that bid, put together a full detailed presentation. And I can, as part of, this masterclass, I have a whole series of downloadable documents of example presentations and example bids that you can have access to, real ones that I've done. And they're fantastic because it really makes the client understand the reality of it. But then you have to follow up again and make sure you actually are closing that deal and booking that shoot. Okay. So it's a whole process from developing your brand, refining that brand and that portfolio, developing that marketing strategy, implementing that marketing strategy, and then finally booking that client and confirming and making sure that they're going to go ahead with you as a photographer, because usually they triple bid on a job, and be able to land that absolutely incredible photographic campaign that you've always wanted to do. Or if it's a shoot for consumer client, land those consumer opportunities over and over again. It's absolutely key. But making sure that you're not only marketing, but you're developing and achieving all of the success with the follow-up. I cannot tell you enough. Marketing is nothing without the follow-up. And it's also won't mean anything if you don't have the correct brand to stand by it. It's absolutely critical. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me on the Advanced Masterclass in Marketing for Photographers workshop with me, celebrity fashion photographer Kevin Michael Schmitz. And it's been such a great opportunity to have you guys on. And I can't wait to see you implement every single thing that we talked about into your photography, into your business, incorporating AI and incorporating all these strategies and taking your photography to the highest level where you're booking the ideal clients and thriving. Take care, guys.